Hello everyone and welcome to the Colorado Health Foundation's Available Funding webinar. My name is Amy Latham and I'm the Chief Impact Officer here at the Foundation. Let's go ahead and get started. Today I will share an introduction to the Foundation and some general information about our grant making, including grant eligibility, our guidelines for funding diversity, different funding types available from the Foundation, and ideas for helping us stay connected. First, I'd like to share a little bit about the Foundation and what informs and drives our work. Here at the Foundation, our mission is to improve the health of Coloradans. We work towards our mission by being singularly focused on helping Coloradans live their healthiest lives by advancing opportunities to pursue good health and achieve health equity. We work through grant making, policy advocacy, program-related investments, and convening, all to drive change. We provide $100 million in grants and investments annually to meet the health needs of communities throughout all of Colorado's 64 counties. At this point, I always like to note that although we do have significant resources, demand for funding always exceeds our available resources. Typically, at each grant deadline, funding is highly competitive. We believe keeping equity at the heart of our work will lead to better health for Coloradans. And we recognize the importance of creating fair opportunities for the people for whom health is furthest from reach. That's why our work is centered on these three cornerstones. First, we serve Coloradans who have less power, privilege, and income, and we prioritize Coloradans of color. Second, everything we do is with the intent of creating health equity. Finally, we are informed by the community and those we exist to serve. Our organization's strategy has equity at its heart. We know that lack of opportunity, poverty, racism, all of these are key drivers of health challenges experienced by Coloradans, their families, and communities across the state. Because of this, we think it's really important that every step we take creates fair opportunities for those for whom health is furthest from reach. We believe that health equity exists when there are no unnecessary, avoidable, unfair, or systemically caused differences in health status. Our strategy is designed to bring health and reach for all Coloradans by strengthening bodies, minds, and communities in the fight against unfair or avoidable differences in health. We divide our work into 4 areas: maintain healthy bodies, nurture healthy minds, strengthen community health, and champion health equity. We also fund cross-cutting efforts that address multiple focus areas at once. We generally make grants to 2 different types of organizations. The first is Colorado organizations classified as tax-exempt under Section 501c3 of the Federal Tax Code. Secondly, we make grants to Colorado public agencies, including state and local governments, such as school districts. Please note that if a public support test requirement to retain public charity status applies to your organization, as a public charity grantee of the Colorado Health Foundation, it's really important that you ensure that the grant your organization receives will not cause it to lose its status as a publicly supported charity. We encourage you to contact a tax advisor if you have any questions about your status as a publicly supported charity. Generally, the Foundation does not make grants to the following: individuals, programs that require membership in a certain religion or advance a particular religious faith, for-profit organizations or programs operated by or for the benefit of for-profit organizations, debt retirement, fundraising events, or endowments. Additionally, we do not award grants to organizations that willfully discriminate against a particular class of individuals. To be eligible for funding, organizations must abide by all applicable local, state, and federal anti-discrimination laws in hiring, employment practices, and service provision. Foundation's intent is to encourage a diverse funding base in order to strengthen the financial health and sustainability of nonprofit organizations. In 2015, we set guidelines to ensure that an organization is not excessively dependent on Foundation funding. In general, we work to ensure that the annual grant disbursement from the Foundation does not exceed 25% of an organization's total annual expense budget. For those organizations receiving more than one grant from the foundation, the guideline is 30% of the annual expense budget. These thresholds are considered when grant proposals are reviewed, understanding that at times the foundation may decide to go above these guidelines. In these instances, we'll work with the organization to ensure that future diversified funding sources are being considered and planned for. For fiscal sponsorships, this guideline does not apply to fiscal sponsors, but to the sponsored organizations. The foundation has 3 application deadlines each year: February 15th, June 15th, and October 15th. We ask you to submit applications by 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the day of the deadline, except in cases when the deadline falls on a weekend or a holiday, and in that case, we ask that you submit your application by 5 p.m. on the following business day. We make grants through our funding opportunities and through rapid response funding. Funding opportunities vary for each deadline, and we ask applicants to address detailed criteria specific to that funding opportunity. Grant funding is highly competitive within the pool of applicants for each individual funding opportunity. For our June 15th, 2021 grant deadline, we have 4 funding opportunities open. These funding opportunities focus on specific needs aligned with a particular priority within our focus areas. For June, these will include the area of family, friend, and neighbor caregiver supports, youth resiliency, community-initiated solutions, and finally, intergenerational physical activity. Rapid response funding supports short-term advocacy initiatives. There's no set deadline for rapid response grants. Instead, we consider applications on a rolling basis for this type of funding. It's important to us that you have several ways to stay informed about our work and that we have ways of staying connected with what's happening in your communities and with your organizations. We encourage you to connect with our program staff with any questions about available funding and to talk through your proposed projects or programs before you apply for a grant. You can reach a program officer by emailing funding@coloradohealth.org. Please be sure to note which Colorado county you work in and your funding priority of interest in your message. I also encourage you to join our mailing list at coloradohealth.org/join to receive emails about funding opportunities as well as other important updates. And of course, please follow us on our social media channels. This concludes today's webinar. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. You see my contact information right there on the screen, or it's also available on our website with any questions about what we covered today. Thank you so much for joining us as we work to bring health in reach for all Coloradans.